we're going to put these two tools through a number of challenges to see which AI video tool reigns supreme. We'll use the same prompt, run it through each model and compare the results. By the end of this video, you'll know which is the best for different situations and which one you should be using for your projects. If you're new here, I'm AI Samson, and on this channel we explore the latest possibilities of AI technology. Google Veo 3.1 is a new update that gives us a whole host of new features in Google's flagship video model. But not only that, it's also increased its realism, detail, and a whole host of other features. We're going to take a look at what those are before taking a look at some of the most impressive examples coming out of this model, and then diving in to the main feature, the prompt battle. Now the question is, who will reign supreme in the quest for AI video supremacy as we battle it out between two juggernauts of the AI world where Google and OpenAI collide? Who wins? You decide. Now, although Google Veo 3.1 is upgrading its visual aesthetics, the most interesting part of this is its additional features, and this includes ingredients to video, which allows you to take various different items with images and put them all into a scene. This allows us a whole host of capabilities related to maintaining consistency for important elements. The next most interesting thing is extending your clips, and this allows us to make our footage much longer. And my personal favorite is first and last frame. Now, this is a tool that gives us complete control to go from one shot to another, and it truly unlocks a whole host of possibilities. We also have add or remove objects, allowing us to update and modify videos, removing different elements, adding in some giant glowing orbs, if you will, or removing leaves. Now, these changes give us a lot more control and move Veo 3.1 into the realms of being a tool that can challenge some of the other more capable AI video models out there. Now, beyond that, it's got much better textures, understanding, and photorealistic effects. And you can try it out on Google Flow or in other third-party apps like InVideo. So the key things to remember here are better realism, the ability to add and remove objects from the frame, the chance to use first and last frame for complete control, and ingredients, which allows you to specify specific people, objects, and places within your scene. Now we'll take a look at a couple of my favorite examples from X. This one's from Isaac Rodriguez. It's a beautiful sequence of shots that maintain a lovely, consistent aesthetic cohesion, and even this beautiful piece of titling is very well integrated into the scene. And I also love, just notice the timing, that the accent on the music is perfectly matched to when the title appears. Next up, we have an example from Elcina, and this demonstrates how you can create studio-level ads with a simple JSON prompt. Now, JSON prompting is a specific structure that you can use for your prompt that help you get more control over your AI video. If you are interested in JSON prompting, do let me know, because I was thinking about making a video about that. Now, what's great about this is we've got excellent character definement here on the can. The typography also works so exceptionally well, and this is truly blowing my mind, especially how well it integrates everything with this very immersive soundscape. Would this be an AI video review without a quick look at Will Smith eating spaghetti? So here's that, just to continue the notion.
I can't get enough of this. I can't get enough of
I think it's done a pretty good job here. I would say that his wrinkles seem to morph around his face a little bit like a hallucination. You can see that they appear and then they slightly drift off at other moments. But apart from that, I think it works very well. I would say that some of these strands of spaghetti, for me, look rather thick. I would not say I would have spaghetti quite as thick as that. Now here's a beautiful example by Dave Clark, and this is a war epic. Let's just run through this together.
The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Get to the seawall.
Now this is absolutely beautiful. I certainly love the immersive soundscape, and the acting here is pretty impressive. Just notice the emotions crossing across these individuals' faces. You really get a sense of being in a very intense battle. Now you can use Google VO 3.1 inside of Flow, and this is a tool specifically designed for harnessing the latest features of Google VO 3.1. Now to do this, all you have to do is make sure that you've selected Google 3.1 Fast in the model options within your prompt box, and then you can go ahead and pop in a prompt, or you can select frames to video, and that's where we get our beautiful new control of setting the first and the last frame. You'll get two options here. The box on the bottom left is the first frame, and the box adjacent to it is the last frame. So let's crack on to the main portion of this video, which is the prompt battle. Now, I'm going to put every prompt and every video that I created for this in a link in the description below, so you can use these prompts yourself, but also take a closer look of each of the examples. So the first is a scene with the boy and the paper boat, and it's a young boy kneels near a puddle, settling a small paper boat afloat. Tiny lights flicker inside it like distant stars. He smiles as thunder murmurs in the distance. I then input a camera type and a style of Steven Spielberg inspired nostalgia. So here we have Sora 2. It's captured the scene pretty well, however there's not much movement or too much cinematography involved. Let's see how it compares. So here it is in VO 3.1. Now for my take, VO 3.1 certainly has a more cinematic feel and a greater aesthetic range. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my opinion on any of these. Next up we have the violin in the storm, and the prompt for this was a woman plays the violin as rain pours and waves crash. Each note slows the falling rain for a second. Time itself pauses. So this is the version from Sora 2. Now, there are a couple of things that are a little bit inconsistent with this. Firstly, it does appear as if at this point she completely removes her bow from the strings, and you would imagine that it would be pretty hard to control that if you were doing so. Secondly, the audio for me sounds extremely tinny. There is almost this feeling that it's been recorded inside of a small metal box. But apart from that, it does a pretty good job. I do admire the beautiful crispness of the waves crashing on the rocks here. Here we have the version from VO 3.1. Now, I think this has much better quality to the sound. It certainly feels more authentic. As well as that, I would say that the general action and dynamism of the piece feels much more consistent and believable. But we have to pull out some awful morphing here. Just look, as she pulls the violin down, it suddenly transforms 180. It's like she flips it around instantly by the power of magic. So for that one, I would just give it to Google VO 3.1. Now, I also included all of these prompts run in Google VO 3 as well, so you can see what has changed, how has it updated from 3 to 3.1. Okay, let's move on to round 3. And for this, we have the cat and the candle. And the prompt for this was, a cat sits on a wooden desk watching a flickering candle. Shadows shift on the wall, forming ghostly human shapes. A quiet hum of city life contrasts with the stillness within. So here is Sora 2. Now, it's a fairly decent scene. I would say there is a lovely poise to the cat, the posture is beautiful, and the shadows are working very well here on the wall. Now, let's compare that to VO 3.1. Now, there's certainly a much crisper resonance coming out of this piece. We can identify these individual hairs so beautifully. However, the shadows on the wall are not moving at all. They're extremely stagnant. And even the flame is very still. Now, as for resolution, the videos coming out of Sora 2 are 1280 by 704. And comparing that to VO 3, we can see that they are 1280 by 720. However, I would say that the detail is much crisper in Veo 3.1. And I think that the quality, the individual renderings is much better in Veo 3.1. So that round, I would just give it to Veo 3.1 again. Now, next up, we're taking a look at the human face. Now, this is something that is extremely important that these AI video models are able to handle. And the prompt for this one is a passenger stares out of the window. Instead of the landscape, the reflections show his memories, birthdays, laughter, heartbreak. Now, what we're trying to also get here is a complex visual storytelling technique where we see a character deep in thought. So we'll take a look at Sora 2 first.
The glass keeps the world at arm's length. All I get are flashes, cake candles, her smile, the way we broke. They move past like streetlights, too fast to touch. I wonder if she ever looks out a window.
Now, it's done a pretty good job at getting what we had in mind here. We do have these memories casting across the glass in front of him. However, again, he's extremely still. There's very little emotion or movement across his face, not even blinking. And also, I would say some of the characters here look a little bit too intense for my liking. This woman's mouth seems quite unrealistic, like a caricature. But I do enjoy the colors of the reflections. The raindrops really give it a sense of atmosphere. The other thing I want to note that I criticize about Sora 2 is that there seems to be very rare gaps when people are talking. It seems like everyone seems to interrupt each other consistently. Now, I know this can often be a cultural thing, and my impression is that Americans often like to fill gaps quite quickly. Now, do let me know what you think about that in the comments. Whereas in perhaps more Eastern cultures, there is a tendency to have larger gaps and pauses in the conversation. Now, I believe that some European nations sit somewhere in the middle of this. Now, especially in Finland, I think they are extremely comfortable with pauses. But let's take a look at how Veo 3.1 compares. Now, I must say that this is a whole lot better. There are a couple of elements that really distinguish this as a clear winner. First of all, we get much more animation in his face. He's really looking much more pensive and reflective. Also, the memories are more animated. They're not these still flickering images. They really show something that has a much more emotional cadence. And we're getting the background move as well, which really adds a bit more sense of dynamism to the piece. And so for me, undoubtedly, this is the clearest difference of the rounds we've had so far. Veo 3.1 is head and shoulders ahead of Sora 2 in this example. AI content creation is the future and introduces a huge opportunity for anybody to create their own profitable AI social media account. Now, if you ever felt that you wanted to start a YouTube channel, an Instagram account, or a TikTok, but you didn't want to do it because you were afraid of showing your face or didn't want to use your voice. Well, AI now allows anybody with an idea or a message to create their very own social media accounts. And I have an entire course called the AI Influencer Masterclass, where we go through the entire process from designing and building your own AI influencer all the way through to different monetization strategies. And for monetization, there's nothing I recommend more than FanView, which is an AI-first monetization platform. This is the platform trusted by the leading AI influencers in the world, including Atiana Lopez. Now, what's great about this is, unlike other monetization platforms, they don't block or restrict AI content creators. So you can feel safe knowing that you're building an audience that will last. AI content is the future, and this is your opportunity to be involved. Now, if you have an idea, a mission, a brand, a purpose that you want to translate into AI-generated content, do feel free to check out my course in the link in the description below, and also FanView, which allows you to monetize your content. The AI content creation gold rush won't last forever, and now is your opportunity to be a part of it. In just a week, you can launch your very own AI brand and monetize it on FanView. And I want to say a big thanks to FanView for sponsoring this segment of the video. Next up, we're taking a trip under the sea, and that's where we're going to look at a octopus. And for this, we're really looking at how well it handles a nature documentary style prompt. The prompt I was using is: a giant octopus sleeps at the seafloor, its skin pulsing with light, painting dreams across sand and coral. Let's kick things off with Sora 2.
Upon the ocean floor, the giant octopus sleeps. Its skin, a canvas of living light, ripples with memories too vast for any one heart to hold.
It's a remarkable creature that is absolutely groundbreaking. I look at it and my heart jumps out of my face. These AI video models are truly changing the game for everyone. So, what is remarkable about this is how well it does replicate the voice of David Attenborough, who is a British naturalist who creates many different documentaries. So I would say the voice is fantastic here in this example. However, I would say that the radiance passing across the skin of this octopus doesn't feel particularly lifelike. It almost looks as if there is a light being projected onto its skin rather than it actually illuminating itself. I also feel that the cinematography, the composition of this, leaves a little bit to be desired. It's a little bit of a bland shot. But let's take a look at VO 3.1. Now we've really got a very different interpretation to the prompt here, and it's taken in a completely different direction. We do have this slightly nonsensical moment where we're suddenly elating with the fires underwater and lightning. I don't know quite where that came from. And there is absolutely no voiceover in this instance, although we did not specifically request one. So for me personally, I would actually give this round to Sora. Next up, we're looking for some complex action, and this is where we're really defining precisely what are the movements that we want inside of a piece to tell a story. The prompt is a huge alligator in front of an American Florida house circling around a 3-year-old baby. The mother runs out of the house and tries to calm down the alligator, but it gets saved by a cat that has jumped from the roof and saved the day, scaring out the alligator. It's a scene caught by a security camera recording. And here is that example from Sora 2.
Oh my god, Hunter! Oh baby, I've got you. It's okay, I've got you. Oh my god.
So we get the scene working pretty well. Everything we asked for is in there. However, there is one big issue with this, and that is that there is this massive cut here where the sound continues as if it is naturally consistent, but actually the scene just jumps massively for no apparent reason. The other thing is there is a real low degree of detail in a lot of this, that the faces of these two are extremely distorted. But as for getting the main concept across, it's done a pretty good job. Now, unfortunately, Google VO 3.1 declined to do this prompt entirely. And that's another thing to consider with these models, is the level of censorship. And one model that I think has the lowest censorship across profanity, violence, human anatomy, and celebrities is the new model coming out of Grok. And if you are interested in that, I made an entire video breaking down how that model works here. But let's continue with our explorations and take a look at number 7. And this is using the following prompt. A young man walks across endless flats reflecting the sky, a perfect mirror. Each step disturbs the reflection, revealing deep galaxies below the surface. He kneels and touches it, and the sky ripples like water. So what we're looking for here is a surreal scene that gives us the possibilities to understand how well these models can adapt to physics that are not based in reality. First up is Sora 2.
Every step feels like walking on myself. The sky above, the sky below, and somewhere in between me. Maybe we're all just reflections, waiting to remember what's been.
So it does a pretty good job. I certainly find that the voiceover is matching very well to the atmosphere of the piece. It's got a nice aesthetic, beautiful tones, and it does a fairly good job of communicating what we were looking for within the prompt. Here's how VO 3.1 handled this challenge. Now for me, there's absolutely no question, not a doubt in my mind which one is the winner in this round. And that, of course, is VO 3.1. I think the quality here is just remarkably better. The beautiful puddles rippling out from his steps. And then the sound design works so beautifully in this piece. And finally, the way that the ocean opens up is extraordinarily beautiful and engaging. However, it doesn't completely match the concept that we were asking for in our prompt. And I would say in some ways the Sora 2 example does more closely match the idea that we were looking for. But I just adore that splashing sound, the rippling sound. It's so immersive. Certainly takes me away. Next up, we have a cinematic wide shot of New York City under duck invasion. Thousands of ducks filling Times Square and rooftops. So we're looking for how well this handles a surreal scene, as well as matching a specific environment. Here is Sora 2.
In a city that never sleeps, the ducks have woken it up. Wings beat, billboards quake, sneakers.
So it does a fairly decent job. It looks mostly like New York. I would say there's a lot of morphing here, and there is also a little bit of inconsistency with the sizing of these ducks. I would say that they look rather gigantic here compared to some other ones looking quite small when they are flying. I do like the ducks being put on all of the advertising though. Here is 3.1. Now, I would say that this has struggled a little bit here. We get some odd transitions from different locations, as well as unknown smoke exploding from this taxi car. And this duck is quite a comical character. I like the fact that he has shoes on. Why not put a duck in shoes? Of course, that's exactly what we all want. Is he the leader of all the ducks? He doesn't seem so menacing. And then here also there is a lot of odd morphing going on. So I would call this one a tie. Next up, it's one of my favorites, and that's a cat training event. And here we're looking at the physics of complex animals in motion. The prompt is a crowded indoor sports arena filled with cheering people as cats compete in a high-energy training event. Here we have Dear Kitty number 1 on Sora 2.
Let's go, Mango! Big jump! Here comes Mango lining up for the ring. Watch this! Oh, perfect form through the firelight! Yes! You nailed it, buddy!
So it's done a good job at replicating the arena and the atmosphere. However, the composition and the scene changes are a little bit nonsensical. Like, here we just have the cat like spinning around like a strange ball of energy. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And an odd firebolt coming from the sky. So I'd have to knock a mark off for that. No more firebolts. Sora 2. Here is the same prompt in VO 3.1.
He clears the glowing hoop. What an astonishing display of feline agility.
We are going to the championship!
I would say that this is better mainly because of the more natural narrative being portrayed through the scene, that everything makes sense. The only thing that I would say is it's a little bit odd that it appears as if the cat walks through the circle and then it tries to jump through it. And it doesn't quite make sense. And then, of course, we have the fact that this woman disappears on the right-hand side, nonsensically, and it's followed by another woman who seems to just appear out of the cat's buttocks. And she also has a pretty horrendous gap in her tooth. So I would marginally give this one to VO 3.1, but I would say that both of these have not done a particularly great job. Next up, we're looking at how we can apply this to advertising, and this is for a car advert. So a prompt that we are using is a sleek black sports car races across a mountain highway at sunrise. Now, here it is on Sora 2. Now, this one I made inside of InVideo, which is a third-party app that allows you to access other AI models, and that means you don't get the Sora watermark, in case you are curious. Now, I actually love some of the angles here. It's got this beautiful drone-style footage of the car. It's extremely action-packed, and it certainly gets the heart racing. This is how 3.1 compares. Now, comparatively, this one is rather lethargic. It's a little bit slower and more meandering. The camera angle feels much more as if it's sort of fixed on a pole behind the car. So for this, my preference is Sora 2 for the much more dynamic range of movement and the wonderfully creative drone-like footage. Now let's take a look at a real estate promo, and the prompt we're using here is golden sunlight floods through the floor-to-ceiling windows of a modern luxury apartment overlooking a city skyline. Here is Sora 2.
The city looks different from up here.
Feels like it's ours for a moment.
Best way to start the day.
Together.
Now, I would say that's fairly poor. It's extraordinarily basic, and it's almost as if you just got an image that was zooming in. So for me, I'm pretty unimpressed with that. As for VO 3.1, this is what we got. One curious element of this is that it seems to be in Spanish, but I'm not 100% sure that even is Spanish. It almost sounds like an imagination of Spanish. Do let me know any Spanish speakers in the comments. Yeah, but we do have much much better detail here, as well as some better motion in the fact that we zoom in to the couple as a focal point of this and we experience a little bit of their emotion together. And just look at how crisp these leaves are as well. That is a lovely touch. And also, there is a real detailed scene here in the background. So for me, that one is definitely VO 3.1 as a winner. Next up, we're looking at an atmospheric cinematic scene, and this is a welder in an abandoned warehouse who finishes his final sculpture, a huge metal phoenix. This is Sora 2. And it does a pretty good job at this. I would just comment on one element, which it seems as if we lose all sense of grounding as the phoenix flies off and loops around in a way that gives me a real sense of motion sickness, as if the floor is moving from underneath me. So I would have to dock a point on that. But we can have a look at VO 3.1. Now, VO 3.1 certainly has a much more immersive soundscape, very cinematic, and even the shots here are more aesthetically composed, and then the way that the bird flies up into the air, it dominates the scene, and I certainly think that VO 3.1 is the winner here. Now, I made this video because I asked everyone which video they would like to see next, and this was the most popular idea. So thank you everyone who voted for that, and if you have any other video ideas, do let me know in the comments, and we'll look into making those in the future. Next up, we have a scene comparing two sweet animals who are debating who broke a bowl. First up, we have Sora 2.
Who broke the bowl? Was it you? But he says no. Oh, you're saying it was him? Wine. Pretty convenient considering you're the one on the table.
So it does a pretty good job. This is rather typical of the AI content that we see these days. I think the voices work very well, and we get a general gist of the concept. Here is the VO 3.1. Now we get some nice dust here, but I would say that there is a lack of matching the sound effects to the visuals, which is a little bit disappointing, and it doesn't quite convey the concept that we had as strongly. So for this, although aesthetically it is more accurate and engaging, I would say in terms of adhering to the prompt, Sora 2 has won this round. Now if you're interested in comparing the censorship of these models, we're going to take a look at that in a later round. Now by the end of this video, you're going to understand what are the strengths and weaknesses of each of these models and when you should be using each one. We've taken a look at VO 3.1 facing Sora 2 across a number of different challenges, and overall VO 3.1 is a clear winner. But it is not unanimous. There are situations where Sora 2 is adhering much more closely to the prompt or giving us more dynamic camera movement and cinematographic elements. However, in terms of realism, detail, sound quality, and overall beauty, we can clearly see that the VO 3.1 is the winner. But this is my opinion. Let me know what you think in the description below. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, if you enjoyed this video, then check out this one next, where I break down exactly what the power of using first and last frame is inside of AI video, because it truly unlocks a whole host of creative possibilities. But most of all, I want to say thank you for watching, thank you for being here, and I wish you a delightful day.